Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Nurse Reviews Cells at Work Code Black. So you might have noticed already, but I'm not wearing kimono today. I've just been really tired lately and I just didn't really have the time or energy to get all dressed up. So we're back to doing just basic black with a colorful haori on top, but you know what? I really like this one, so it's fine. Anyway, today we are looking at episode number 5, which is called Overwork, Hair Loss, and Delirium. I'm going to be completely honest with you. As I've mentioned in previous videos, I am a registered nurse, but my specialty is primarily in critical care and cardiology. So where I work, I'm primarily concerned with, do you have a pulse? Are you breathing? Are you conscious? Or is there anything that may affect any of the above? And I mean, if you're good on all those accounts, you're pretty stable in my eyes, and yeah, hair loss just kind of falls to the bottom of my priority list a lot of the times. But I mean, it is a very common problem, but yeah, it's just not something that I see or deal with very often where I work. So I went and consulted my trusty pathophysiology textbook that I've been kind of referring to on and off throughout this video series. And even then, it only had maybe a couple of paragraphs on hair loss. So I suspect this is going to be a short video and I'm not going to have very much to contribute, but regardless, we're going to cover it anyway. So without further ado, let's dive right in.
キラー T 細胞ヘルパー T 細胞の命令により出動するがん細胞やウイルス感染細胞などを異物として始末する殺し屋
この世界に住む細胞たちそして戦いを挑んでくる愚かなウイルスたちに今こそ見せつけろ
So we are reintroduced to our T cells. So we saw them back in the main series, or rather season 1 of the main series. And so I'm not going to go a whole lot into what they are or like what they do, but yeah, they are part of the adaptive immune system, which means they are basically programmed to recognize certain infections, certain viruses or bacteria and whatnot, and deal with them appropriately. Whereas neutrophils and macrophages are part of your innate immune system, so they don't really recognize any particular virus or bacteria, but they will recognize a foreign substance and deal with it. I do find it a little bit strange that they're saying the neutrophils took such huge losses from the gonococcal infection. I didn't get the impression that the gonococci infection got really severe. From what I could see or remember from last episode, they managed to contain it to the urethra, and the gonococci didn't really make it any further than that, so they didn't enter the bloodstream or even make it to the epididymis. So you would think that the neutrophils wouldn't have taken that hard of a hit. Sometimes severe infections are known to decrease your white blood cell count, but those are usually like really severe infections. So for example, infections that you see sepsis with. But I didn't get the impression that the infection was quite that severe, so I do find it a little strange, but you know, it's a work of fiction, so we shall see. In any case, has anyone else noted how much more roided up our killer T cells are compared to the main series? Like, it's insane. The guy looks like a mixture of Wolverine and what's his face? The Beast? No, not the Beast. The Beast is blue. Wait, this guy. I'm just gonna put a picture of him right here because I forget his name.
酸素をお届けに上がりました。
ああ、ご苦労さん。じゃあまず一つはそっちと。
はい。え？
あともう一箱はそっちに置いといて。
はい。おっ
びっくりさせちゃった。僕たち毛母細胞は盛んに細胞分裂を繰り返して毛を作っているんだ。
毛母細胞毛乳糖から栄養素や酸素を受け取り細胞分裂することで髪の毛を作り出す。
病気をしようがストレスを抱えてようが常に僕たちは毛を作り続けなきゃいけない。
So yes, hair cells, or hair matrix cells, whatever. I'm just going to call them hair cells. Hair cells. Again, I don't know that much about hair. However, what I can tell you is that they do replicate very fast. They are one of the fastest replicating cells in your whole body. So basically every cell in your body is programmed to replicate at a certain rate. Some of them are incredibly slow or don't really replicate at all, such as your nerve cells in your brain. But there are others that also replicate very fast. So for example, your hair cells or the cells that line your stomach, because obviously that one just takes a ton of damage every single day. So yeah, basically any part of your body that requires a lot of repair or a lot of replacing, like hair, for example, is going to replicate very fast.
色素細胞さん、こっちまだ白いです。
ああ、悪い悪い。すぐ行くぞい。
色素細胞、メラニン細胞とも呼ばれ、髪の毛の色となる色素を作り出す。
I think they're actually usually referred to as melanocytes, not pigment cells. But maybe somebody can correct me. Maybe they're called pigment cells elsewhere, but I'm pretty sure most of my textbooks refer to them as melanocytes. But yeah, they basically same thing. Also, the way they've worded this is a little bit strange to me. They basically say the pigment cell is also known as melanin, but melanin is actually the pigment that they produce. So don't confuse the two. Melanocytes produce melanin. They are not also called melanin.
一体何が細菌に襲われたんですか？
細菌でもウイルスでもない。
キラー T 細胞さん。よかった。助けてください。モーボ細胞さんが襲われてるみたいで。なんとかしてください。
ああ、異物は排除する。異物は。
何をするんですか、キラー T 細胞さん。
何よ。決まってるだろ。異物を排除してこの体を外敵から守ってるんだ。
So it looks like our killer T cells are attacking the host body's own cells. So basically this just looks like an autoimmune reaction. So normally your cells have what we call antigens on their surface, on their exteriors, and your body's immune system will be able to see those antigens and feel those and say, oh no, this is a friendly cell. This is one of our own. Now, when for whatever reason your immune systems are no longer recognizing those antigens as one of their own, they will start to think that those cells are foreign substances such as bacteria or viruses and things like that. So they go and kill them. So this is clearly what is happening.
猛根への攻撃を一旦中止してください。なんだと？今攻撃しているのは毛母細胞の可能性があります。毛母細胞？そんなわけあるか。ここまで活発に分裂している細胞はがん細胞に違いない。そもそも毛母細胞は活発に分裂増殖する細胞です。一度確認してからでも。
So yes, as we said before, hair cells multiply just at a blistering pace. Now what do they have in common with cancer cells? Cancer cells also multiply at a blistering pace. So the characteristics of a cancer cell is that it replicates and replicates and replicates endlessly. When the body sees that, naturally it's going to try to stop that and sort of get rid of those cancer cells with your immune cells. And here what is happening is our T cells are no longer recognizing our hair cells as their own. And instead it's seeing that, hey, here are some cells that replicate really fast just like cancer cells. And so they're thinking that they're an enemy that needs to be destroyed, and here we are. Now, hair cells, along with a few other areas of the body, such as the testes and the central nervous system, which includes your brain and your spinal cord, are what we call immune privileged. This means that they generally don't have immune cells circulating around them, and this just protects them from inflammation and, any autoimmune effects that you would see normally. They do this through two ways. One way is through the fact that they just don't have lymphatic vessels anywhere near them. Lymphatic vessels are basically a way for your immune system to easily travel throughout the body, and we kind of saw this earlier in the episode. Another way is that these areas will actively suppress any immune response. So the very fact that the T cells are even present near the hair follicles is not normal. They shouldn't be there. And there's a reason for that, and that's because they would probably try to attack the hair cells like we're seeing here.
毛は私たちの作った毛が抜けていく。
円形脱毛症、体の防御機能であるキラー T 細胞が毛根部分の自己抗原を誤って攻撃してしまうことによって引き起こされる自己免疫疾患。原因としては精神的ストレスなどが挙げられる。
So yes, without naming it, they have basically identified alopecia areata. So alopecia just means hair loss. Areata means patchy. So this disorder usually manifests as patchy baldness. So it won't present as like a receding hairline like you would see with male pattern baldness, and it won't be uniform like you see with other forms of hair loss. So this is generally recognized as, yes, an autoimmune disorder caused by our killer T cells being where they shouldn't be and not recognizing our hair cells as one of their own. They say one of the causes is psychological stress, and we're kind of moving away from that. Autoimmune disorders are primarily genetic, and how do we know that? If you already have or are predisposed to autoimmune disorders, then yeah, you're more likely to have alopecia areata. If someone in your immediate family is predisposed or has an autoimmune disorder, you as a direct relative are more likely to have that as well, including alopecia areata. Now, we don't know exactly what triggers this autoimmune response to flare up. One of the proposed theories is psychological stress. There are others as well, such as certain medications or maybe other things in your environment that may trigger it, but ultimately, we don't really know. It's just, at this point, a theory. However, it is primarily genetic. If everybody lost hair because of stress, well, I think we would all have patchy bald spots on our head. So yeah, I experience a lot of stress at work and I still have a full head of hair. So it's not like everybody who experiences stress is gonna have alopecia areata. You need to have those triggers on top of that genetic predisposition in order to see that hair loss.
なんだあいつは。データに該当あり。ステロイドです。ステロイドだと。
目標細胞確認。排除します。
ステロイド、強力な抗炎症作用と免疫抑制作用を持つ薬剤。アレルギー反応そのものを強力に抑える。円形脱毛症の場合、サイトカインを出す T 細胞を抑制する。
やめろ。なぜ排除されなくてはいけない。
So yes, steroids. They are our friends when it comes to trying to suppress inflammation and a lot of the autoimmune responses. So we use them in quite a few things. And when we say steroids, we don't mean like anabolic steroids, like to get muscular and things like that. We mean steroids like corticosteroids, like prednisone and dexamethasone and things like that. So yeah. They have a number of applications, but we use them a lot for any sort of inflammatory response that we don't want. So for example, a lot of autoimmune disorders fall under that. A lot of lung diseases fall under that too. One of the neat things about steroids is that we can use it in severe cases of COVID-19, or the coronavirus as people call it. One of the effects of COVID-19 is just widespread inflammation, including in the lungs, which eventually results in lung damage. So what we can do is we can help modulate that response with steroids like dexamethasone in order to kind of settle things down and prevent that lung damage from occurring. Now, the thing about steroids is that they are not free of side effects. Long-term use of steroids can cause things like high blood pressure, osteoporosis, and diabetes, and all those other things that most people generally don't want. So we usually only prescribe them for short-term flare-ups.
そうか。もう働かなくていいんだな。もう働かなくても
僕は必死に頑張って仕事をすればこの劣悪でブラックな環境も良くなると信じてた。
私は一体。
That's a good lesson. Don't overwork yourself. I remember working some really bad shifts and thinking to myself that I was weak if I wasn't able to manage it, and why couldn't I do it on my own? But that was pretty well a fast track to burnout, and I burned out pretty hard. I came to realize that you can ask for help. You don't have to do it alone. And especially in nursing too, it's a team effort. You're never alone. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to do everything. And it's okay to say no sometimes and take a break. Hi, Gas.
逃げろ！旅館の中に何かいるぞ！
尿が真っ赤に染まっていく。
この世界は一体どこへ向かっているんだろう。
Well, that's a pretty desolate way to end the episode. So it looks like we are ending the episode with hematuria, which means blood in the urine. Now, I'm not really sure why it's happening, but I'm assuming that's going to be for next episode. In any case, like I said, I don't really know too much about hair and hair loss, but I hope you learned something a little bit today. Also, feel free to check out my video on episode 4 of Cells at Work Code Black, because it only got like 250 views as of this recording, and I think it's because I age restricted it. So if you are 18 plus, please feel free to check out my channel and take a look at that video. Anyway, that's it for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I shall see you all next time.